All right, everybody, welcome to Timeless Truth. This is AKM here. We're excited today for another show as we are just kind of getting this podcast started. Today, we are going to welcome on my new friend, Brett, and let him tell you about his Catholic faith. But we are super excited to have you on the show. And there we go. All right.
Sure.
How are you, brother?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Doing pretty good. So, where are you from and how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I just turned 30, and I am
Okay.
from Illinois, just about like hour south of Chicago area.
Out of Chicago?
Yes, south of
Nice.
Chicago.
Nice. What's the name of your city, the city closest to you?
Um, be Kankakee.
Okay. I always like to hear the names of the cities because, it's probably something I never heard of, but, people just say like whatever, how close you are to the biggest well-known city, but
Yeah, basically how that goes.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. You're good. Well, let's start with a prayer and then we will dive right in. So, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, Brett, when did you become Catholic?
I am a cradle Catholic.
There we go. Your whole
Yep,
life.
whole life. I can't say I was a very good one for a large part of it, but it was you know, cradle Catholic at least.
Yeah. What's your story? Did you have like a reversion at some point?
I did, yeah. So growing up, I actually had a pretty good foundation. My mom was really good about, doing the prayers with us, reading the Bible, and making sure we had a good foundation and at Mass every Sunday. And then, like a lot of us, get the teenage years and start, falling away kind of there.
Seems
And,
like that's the way it is for a lot of
yeah,
people.
it's awesome when people don't do that, but it seems that's kind of, for most people, that's what happens. And
Yeah.
I had that experience and got involved, more like took music was my kind of route I took, and then I ended up getting engaged and having a kid, and
Mm.
after the music, and once that kind of happened, it was more of a kind of find yourself moment, and that's kind of when my reversion back started,
Okay.
and that was started a couple years ago, and just been building since then.
Sure. So you had a child before marriage and then you got married?
Yes,
Yes. How did your mom feel about that?
thrilled.
Not thrilled? Yeah.
No, no.
But I mean, it got you back on the path and now you're in a good stable Catholic family, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
um, turn that right direction there. But yeah, there's
Mhm.
hockey coming back into it.
Yeah. There you go. I think that is the case for a lot of people. At least it seems that way. That, like we said, people fall away usually in their teenage or young adult years, and sometimes have a reversion. But you mentioned there's some that don't. Do you kind of see that as being the majority in your area, or is it not that way?
In my area, I would say a lot of them have just fallen away.
Mm. Haven't come back yet.
Yeah, the people that I do see, like more my age, are like the Latin mass crowd,
Hmm.
and that's still, I mean, a very small few.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was telling my wife the other day, because we were down in Nashville visiting, and we went to the Basilica down there in Nashville. I don't know if you've been there, the Basilica.
In Nashville, I've not. No, I'd love to.
It's pretty neat. This is my second time going there, but um, they'd bring like all the little kids up and then bring them in the back for the gospel. Like, and I'm like, I remember doing that as a kid, but now there's like hardly any kids that even go to mass.
Is that the way it is?
Yeah, I'm like, that's a bummer. But the
Man.
Latin little kids, but I we go to the Novus Ordo Mass most of the time. So that's what I'm most familiar with. But yeah, the Latin Mass is still full of kids, so that's definitely a treat to see.
Okay. So you normally go to Novus Ordo instead of Latin Mass, and why is that?
My wife is more of a fan of the Novus Ordo,
Okay.
and the Latin Mass is later in the day,
Mm-hmm.
so kids' schedules and everything. It just
Sure.
makes it here. I'll
Is your
still go.
wife Catholic?
What's that?
Is your wife Catholic?
Yep, she's
Okay.
also Catholic.
Mm-hmm. You said she was. Did you say she was cradle or convert?
Cradle.
Oh, she's cradle too. Okay. Nice. So you didn't have too many issues to cross with that relationship then, right? As far as religious
Yeah, no,
perspectives.
that was an easy one. Not to have a big discussion there with trying to get her to convert.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about the contrast between the Novus Ordo and the TLM?
Well, obviously, I think both are valid. So I'm not.
Sure. We'll get
Great.
that out of the way. Nobody's saying heresy like, oh, we're against the church. We're just, they're both valid. We're just going to talk about what we perceive on top of that.
For me, I think, especially for people like having a hard time with believing the real presence, the Latin Mass is just amazing for that.
Mhm.
Because of the reverence. It's, it kind of reminds me of, I was watching the interview with Bishop Barron and what's his name? He just played St. Padre Pio in that movie.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, and
yes,
he said the Novus Ordo is like they're trying to like sell you something, where the Latin Mass is like they're letting you in on a secret.
I saw that same clip, and that resonated with me too. Like I really appreciate that.
And so yeah, I that's a great way to be able to sum it up. But the reverence is like the big thing. I find it, going Novus Ordo, it could be hard for people like seeing, just some random laity go up there and handing out the Eucharist. It kind of doesn't give you that feeling of what it really is. Where the Latin Mass, where it's the priest giving it, you're on your knees, taking on the tongue. It feels like it is more special, and you can have that reverence for it.
Mm-hmm. Do you receive on the tongue during the Novus Ordo?
Yes, I'm always on the knees and on the tongue.
Personally, yeah. I've started doing that more recently, and it's not the norm for our parishes. We just have Novus Ordo around here. So even though you're not going as much as maybe you want to, you're blessed to have it in your area, because we don't have one probably within 2 hours of us in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I think the closest one is Steubenville, Ohio.
Yeah, no, lucky here because at my parish we have the low mass, and 45 minutes away from me there's also the FSSP.
Oh yes.
Well, so that's pretty cool to see the sung mass, but I don't get there very often. It's a little further of a trek.
Now, what does that stand for? If you know, it's okay if you don't. But you said the letters you just said.
Fraternity is St. Peter.
Okay. And so are they in communion with Rome?
They are. Okay.
So that's different than the SSPX or something like that?
That one's a mess.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard. And they're in schism, correct?
That one's way above my age for answering that question.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I need to look more into the history of that. I'm trying to get all of these, groups straight, but the one that you mentioned is, as far as you know, is in communion with the Catholic Church, and they are. Yeah.
I believe they are, and then there's one other one that the name slips my mind right now. I think Institute of Christ the King.
Okay.
But
yeah, I've studied the Latin Mass a little bit recently, and I can't remember the words exactly in Latin, but it's like lex credendi something something, and it's just talking about how we worship affects the way we believe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of where we're at with this topic. You know.
Yep. And another great thing about the Latin Mass is it allows you, with the silence, to pray during the Mass. And where in Novus Ordo, there's really never a moment of silence.
True.
And so it's harder for the laity to pray.
Did you grow up going to Latin Mass, or was it
Oh, no.
Novus Ordo? It was always Novus Ordo growing up.
No, I learned about it through a friend of mine during the lockdown days.
Okay. Oh,
And
during COVID.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. So somewhat recently then for you. Yeah. In your life.
And it's it really helped me grow my faith there with the Latin Mass.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So the first one that you attended, did you ever have a hard time finding out like when it actually started?
I don't think I had a hard time. My first one was actually a sung mass, and so that it was mind blowing because you're sitting there and it's the chant, you have the incense, and it was like whoa, like you feel like you're back at like medieval times or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to take in, but once you start going to more, you start catching on, and but no, I for the first time people go, it can be a little overwhelming. I feel that's you just gotta keep with it, and then you'll learn to love it and adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mass like the Saints went to, so that's another little cool
Exactly.
thing.
Oh, it's powerful to think about that we could be going or do go to the same mass as like St. Thomas Aquinas, for example.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable.
it's timeless.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I've never been to one. I really want to. It's tough because on Sundays I'm working pretty much the whole day with youth ministry in Parkersburg, but I'd like to get away some Sunday and travel down to Steubenville or Columbus or whatever our closer one is to us. So when you say they sing the whole time, is you said chant? Are they basically chanting like the psalms back and forth, or like the liturgy, or how does that work?
So well, they do have a low mass where there's no singing. It's
Okay.
very, very quiet. But then they do the sung mass, and to be honest, I can't say what they're singing.
Because it's in Latin.
Yeah, it's in Latin.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really never pay attention. Like there's a booklet where you have your Latin on one side and English.
Yes.
Don't really ever look at it. I kind of just, either pray my rosary or pray during the mass. So I can't say I pay too much attention to what's being sung.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Do they sing the scriptures when they read them?
No, so the readings
Yeah,
for
the readings.
the readings for the laity will be in English. There are readings that are in Latin, but those not really for the laity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like the homily is English, so you're gonna understand that still.
Yeah. And so they speak the scripture. They don't like sing it in the way that you would kind of chant the psalms or something like that. Okay.
Your readings, your homily, that's still done in English.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I've been super interested in it recently, and of course, it's a big hot topic in the church. Do you consider yourself a rad trad?
No, I don't use the term rad trad. I like to go maybe the route traditional or trying to be traditional.
Yeah.
But yeah, rad trad, some of that gets a little cringy with in that.
It does seem that way. How would you describe like the persona of what a rad trad is for somebody who's like never heard of that? Because I don't think I honestly know anybody locally, but I might after you describe it.
For me, if I just say it'd be someone who thinks, you know, basically that like the Novus Ordo isn't valid. Not saying
Mm,
I totally agree, and will say that the traditional Latin Mass is more meritorious, but
mm,
um, still saying that the Novus Ordo is valid. Where some of the rad trads I feel could be, strict Latin Mass. If it came after like 1960s, it's no good. Like
mm,
I hear some of where they don't like the devotion to Saint Faustina's devotion. Um,
mm.
and anything that came after basically Vatican II, they're like, nope. Like, yes, there are some problems after Vatican II, but the church is still the church. And
Right.
so that's kind of the persona I'd say with the rad trads.
Yeah, it's like I don't understand how anybody in that position would referee, something being past a certain date or an ecumenical council not being valid because I mean, if we're Catholic, we believe the church is not going to, make a mistake in that council,
Yeah,
right? I mean, what comes out of it's going to be authentically correct.
yeah. And a big thing with that too is what the council said and what happened are,
Mm,
you know, how it's implemented wasn't always, the best way. But yeah, the church, when it is infallible, like on matters of that, why some people don't believe it is out of my head.
right. I've heard that too. A lot is the what's actually written in the documents is one thing, but what people did with it, is a whole different whole different ball game. Yeah.
And that's where I was cool. I don't know if you've seen that Mass of the Ages documentary they put together.
Uh-huh.
It actually
I
lays that.
did. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's really well laid out to show that.
Mhm. I did see that. Is that something that you sent me, or is that something I just found? I can't remember.
Well, I think there's 3 of them now, but I sent you one of them.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Yeah, what I saw was amazing. I mean, I was glued to that because that really connected a lot of dots for me. It was helping me understand some of that going on, and it's super interesting. I think everybody should take a look into that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just feel really strange for, like, the older people in our parishes who do go to Novus Ordo, especially in my area because that's all we have. Like, they would have grown up, with a completely different liturgy, and I wonder, like, how in the world did they adapt to that?
Well, they're holding on to the 60s, and the music's still from the 60s, everything still feel like it's from the 60s. It's like they're just holding on to a nostalgia that's they feel their childhood or their era, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, the mass is supposed to be timeless, not,
Right.
based on one in the 60s.
Uh-huh. So you're
So,
saying, like, the music in the Novus Ordo sounds like from their era?
oh yeah, I mean, once you
Yeah.
hear the difference in music, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah. That is a different ballgame. Yeah. Hmm. That is interesting. Well, talking about music, you said music did you say music led you away from the faith?
Um, in a way, yeah, I kind of got, I went and did the music thing, and I'm a guitarist, and that led, the late nights and that kind of whole, trying to be a rock star
Oh,
persona,
okay. Mhm.
and definitely does not help and bring you to the faith.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So, what necessarily or what brought you back from that lifestyle, you think?
Well, for me personally, it was once I, was starting the family there. I was like, well, I can't be doing this. I have to be home. And then kind of had like the big crisis of like, what am I doing with myself now? Because that when you do something for so long, like, kind of becomes who you are. And then
Yeah.
when on, it's like, throws you through all the anxiety of like, okay, I was going to be a dad, I was getting married, I kind of lost, the persona I had of myself, and it was a whole tailspin like that. And so I was like, well, the faith is the one thing, I guess, that's rock solid. I had still, so that's kind of where I started easing back into it. And um, yeah, because I remember it was like 15 years um, between my last confession and when I came back. So it was a while.
It's a pretty good gap of time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
hmm Well, good for you for coming back. It's awesome.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then you're a convert, right?
I am a convert. Yep. I came in to the church, let's see, October 3rd of 2021. So it'll be 3 years this fall.
Now, was there any big stumbling blocks for you, like coming in, like things you had to wrap your head around?
Honestly, not really, because I was Orthodox and Anglican before becoming Catholic. My dad's always been a priest or a pastor. So he's currently right now is an Anglican priest.
Okay,
So a lot of the theology and some of the liturgy, the practice of it was really similar. So for me, it wasn't really any stumbling blocks.
okay, yeah. I feel like a lot of the times it's the Mary thing that converts kind of have a hard time with their.
I think they do too. I've heard so many stories, and maybe not even stories, but it just feels that way. Like for a while, I was always so hesitant to talk about Mary, or especially to my Christian friends that I still have that are not Catholic.
Mhm.
Um, it just seems like that's a big hang up.
Yeah, and it blows my mind because, especially being Catholic, we're very devoted to Mary, but even in general, it's like it's the Mother of God. Like, how can you
Yeah.
not love her?
Right. Yeah, I've really gotten closer to Mary more recently. Like I've been praying the rosary,
Okay,
trying to pray it every day, and I've been studying a lot of what the Marian priests are say. I don't know if you know of like Father Chris Alar or Father Don Calloway.
find mercy there. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and
Massachusetts. hmm
have you seen his conversion story,
Which ones?
Father Don Calloway?
Yeah, he came
That's
a long way.
yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
You're good. No, it's just I think I've grown closer to Mary through that, and I saw on Pints with Aquinas, he had a guest named Gabriel Castillo somewhat recently. So I don't know if you saw him or not, but I watched that interview and then clicked on his channel. And that dude goes crazy for Mary. Like some of the stuff that I saw at the beginning of his videos honestly kind of made me a little bit uncomfortable, even coming from a Protestant background. But the more I look into it, I'm like, this stuff's powerful. Like, and it's been changing my life even in the past few weeks.
Oh yeah, one of the best metaphors I've heard when it comes to Mary is if you look at is Mary as being the moon. The moon has no light itself; it just reflects the light from the sun,
Mm.
and so you can stare at the moon, but you can't stare at the sun. And so I'm like,
Oh wow, I like that.
that's a good metaphor.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. Where'd you hear that from?
I
If you can remember.
I quite remember where, and I'm probably butchering it, but that was the gist of it.
It sounds right. I hear so many things and I never can remember where I got them from, so it's okay. Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
love that.
so I rosary every day, 3 Hail Marys morning and night, and the brown scapular and the consecration, um, Louis de Montfort's consecration are big things I recommend for Marian devotions.
Yeah. Do you do any of this?
Those are all ones I've done.
Oh, really? Okay. Do you have your scapular on?
Yep, I have my scapular on, a miraculous medal, and then I keep a little Saint Benedict medal in the scapular as well.
That's awesome, man. I do too. I actually just got this medal today.
Nice.
So yeah, we have We have a St. Paul's Street Evangelism group, if you've
Yeah.
heard of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have one of those at the parish, St. Francis Xavier. And yeah, I've just been wanting to give the youth group students some of those medals before we go to our Steubenville conference
Mhm.
at Franciscan University. And the end of this month, we're going up there. And yeah, I saw a video on Gabriel Castillo's channel about another seminarian who was in charge of some youth group students, and he gave them all a medal before their conference or at their conference, and they just like they caught fire. So I'm like, okay, we need some of that for our kids.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard of I don't know if you ever watched Sensus Fidelium on YouTube.
Yes, it sounds really familiar. I think I've watched a couple videos.
Yeah, the guy who runs it, Steve Cunningham, I think the name is. He
Mhm.
actually used to do Uber, and he would give away the medals to people that did Uber.
Oh, would he? Nice.
And that's
That's
a great way to get them out.
absolutely. I love that. I got to start passing them out more. I mean, for me, I've always thought like for converting people, I have to always preach to them or something. And I'm seeing all these different ways, like just give them a medal or something. And it's like just the intercession of Mary is going to like bring people to God, just that in
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah. The one thing I had to watch myself in on is trying to convert or even talk is like, you don't have to argue with people. Just you give them the information and be charitable about it. Because I feel that's one thing that's easy to do is try try to be a little more pushy about it. Where I'm like, oh, you're not going to win or win me doing that. So
Right.
that's the habit I'm trying to break in myself.
Is that what you struggle? I mean, I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
You're not going to
But,
work. Trying to be a little more charitable, a little more laid back.
uh-huh. Yeah. Where do you think that comes from for you?
Um. Well, my mom's a pretty strong-headed person, so there might be a little bit of that in me.
From
That
your mom a little bit?
yeah, I learned a lot of times just to step away, especially like on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to comment on everything because it's a losing battle.
Yep. I've been there with that. Yeah.
It's pretty dangerous for that.
Mhm. For sure. Mm. I think it's the same for me, probably with my dad though, more so. Just really passionate and strong-headed about like truth. I just think is a good thing. And I think my mom is like the same, but just really good at being loving and charitable. So I'm trying to take both of the goods and and not cross any other lines I shouldn't. But
Now, do you see that ever converting?
see, that's a process. The thing is, I thought he was going to come in too, and he ended up not at this time, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's pretty cool. He told me this later, but I was telling him I was going to become Catholic, and he knew, like he helped me through the process, so he was really supportive. And I give a lot of credit to him actually for me becoming Catholic, even though he's not Catholic, because he got me studying early church history and the differences of Orthodoxy and Anglicanism and Catholicism. But yeah, I was gonna officially come into the church a couple years ago, and he told me that, little did I know that he had a dream like several years back that I was going to actually lead him into the Catholic Church. Like I was going to go first, and then at some point he was going to follow me in. So he's taking some steps back right now as far as Catholic faith, but I'm praying and hoping and still working working towards that dream coming true someday.
Especially the intercession of Mary and the Rosary. There's definitely happen.
And that's what I got to zero in on is just giving it to Mary, because I've heard the stories that she'll work in these people's hearts.
Oh yeah, hearing the stories of her intercession and conversions is just incredible. It gives you chills.
It really does. I mean, it's unbelievable. I wish the Protestants would like just take a chance, just to be curious. Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe some are in secret, but like just listen to the story and see what you think.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot of Protestants out there that want to be true to their faith, or and
Yeah.
find for some reason haven't found it yet. And stories like that could probably definitely lead them.
I think so. Yeah. So like with your goals for evangelism, which is great, by the way. I think a lot of people, don't even think about sharing their faith or maybe aren't passionate about it. Do you find any ways to do that, like in your daily life with your job and everything?
Um, at one point I was giving out some miraculous medals,
Hmm.
and I should probably get back to that. I have a whole bag full of blessed miraculous medals that
Oh, nice, nice.
but I love to talk about it when I can. When the moments arise, I don't get too much opportunity to. Um, so I love to find a way to do that more. But when it comes up, it comes up.
Yeah. Where do you work at, or what do you do?
So I do plumbing, and
Okay.
most of my work is actually at a Catholic hospital nearby.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I can bring it up. I love to bring it up, but it always gets me still when people are like on Fridays when I don't eat meat, like, isn't that during Lent? I'm like, no, it's all year.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. That gives you a chance to tell part of your story that way.
yeah,
That's good. Share the
that's
faith.
a common thing.
Uh, I just recently picked that back up too. So, how long have you not eaten meat on Fridays?
Ooh, if I had to take a guess, I'd probably say 2 to 3 years.
Wow. Do you ever
Now,
forget and just eat something?
uh, what's that?
Do you ever forget on a Friday and eat meat on accident or something?
No, I was gonna say though, we were in Nashville a few weeks ago, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna eat meat, and I'll just do an extra penance. And so I
Uh-huh.
just extra deck of the Rosary, but other than that one time, yeah, it's probably been, I'd say, 2 to 3 years.
I think that's exceptional because, that's well, I guess at this point it's additional, right, to the faith. It's not like the church is mandating that.
Well, yeah, it's I believe the correct thing is either no meat on Friday or a penance that is equal to or greater than. It's what the
Really?
bishops say.
So that's even today in the church.
Yes. Yep. It's
Oh,
still a thing. But most
okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. Okay. I thought it was I just thought it was during Lent on
oh
Fridays.
no, all year.
I like it. I like it. I was doing that. I'm doing that anyways now, but I thought it was like extra. I'm gonna have to ask one of my priests about that because I felt like he was thinking like I was going above and beyond. And I know he's being kind and supportive, but I'm like, maybe we all now I'm thinking maybe we all should just be doing that
Yeah.
like normal. It's like what we should just be doing anyways.
Well, it was one of those things like, well, either don't eat meat or what, how do you say what penance is equal to or greater than that? It's like,
Yeah.
just not to eat meat.
So a penance that's equal to or greater than not eating meat, you're saying, like for yourself, like
Yes.
something with same difficulty level.
Yeah. I have never, if I have looked it up, it's been a long time. So that's just what's sitting in my head.
Yeah.
I'd look it up for the exact wordage.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Meat thing for so long that I really haven't, you know, worried about looking it up too much.
Oh, sure. No, yeah. That's good. So you said, do you have one child, you said?
I have two boys, and then I also have a stepdaughter.
Okay. Gotcha. So how do they feel about their Catholic upbringing now?
Well, the boys are, the one is almost 9 months, so he ain't thinking too much about it. Um,
He's not thinking too much. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
and the other boy is 4, but my stepdaughter's 14, and
Hmm.
so she's CCD, and she's actually pretty good about like, she's like, hey, can we go to confession or stuff like that, and so she actually does seem to take an interest in there, which is awesome.
Hmm. Good deal. Let's see. With you said playing guitar in the past, have you ever found a way to kind of incorporate that back into your life in like a positive way?
I still do play guitar, and
Mhm.
just and I play with music with some guys still, but I'm much more scrupulous about it now, and not just playing. Like today's music and stuff is pretty raunchy when you actually listen to it.
It really is.
Pretty
Yeah.
careful what I play, um, and that's probably the cause of my greatest scruples still.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
I still do enjoy playing.
Sure. So the friends that you play with are just they're playing secular music, I assume?
Yeah, a lot of it's more country music.
Country music, yeah. Mhm.
Hard to find stuff even there that's not raunchy or stuff like that, but you can find some.
It does seem that way. Yeah. Is country music big like where you're from?
Yeah, actually, I would
Is
say
it
probably the largest genre of music around the area.
really? Okay. Would you say like that's the same for Chicago? Because I know it's close by you. Is that
Chicago,
different?
Chicago has some cool like country bars and stuff with that kind of music,
Yeah.
but I try to stay far away from Chicago nowadays.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I bet it's crazy out there.
It's you know there ain't nothing good going on there.
Yeah. Like, because I never been. Well, I don't know if I've been there or not. No, I've never been there.
You know,
Been through there, but yeah, I just always think like Chicago's like I wouldn't think of like country music being popular there, but I could be wrong. I would think it more like being like an inner city, and it's like just full of rap and hip hop and stuff like that.
you know what? There's probably a lot of that there, but I've never seeked that out,
Okay, yeah,
so I just don't know about it.
sure.
But yeah, other than like some good restaurants, I try to stay far away from there.
Yeah, I don't blame 'em. I mean, there's a lot of crime, right? Isn't it like one of the most? Isn't it like the city who has the most murders in the country or something like that?
Probably pretty close.
I'd say it's up there, one of the top. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awful. I cannot imagine. I mean, living out here is like nothing compared to that. Like we have a big drug addiction issue in West Virginia, unfortunately. But
Um,
other than that, it's like super safe. Like if we have a crime that takes place, it's like the whole city is like on high alert. Like we're like, what is going on? Because we're not used to it.
like, even
Yeah,
where I'm like, being an hour south of Chicago, it's like, all the time you hear about shootings and whatnot.
all the time, even
All
where
this,
you're from.
yeah,
Wow, that's crazy. And have you always lived there?
yeah, for the most
Okay.
part.
Hmm. Nice. Ever
So,
had a desire to go anywhere else?
oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I have talked about maybe Tennessee. We go to Tennessee quite a bit. So we were kind of scoping out a little bit when we were down there. Was it last week?
Hmm. Country music's big down there.
That's what you want to call it. It's more a lot of pop country, I guess. And
Yeah, there you go. So you distinguish between that, right? So like they've kind of switched to more of a pop
no, I think I heard
genre,
classic rock than anything actually down there.
classic rock.
That
Okay.
was Yeah. When I was down there, like on the strip, while the bands were, I was like, it was mostly classic rock.
Mm,
I was like, huh, all right,
that's a little different than what I thought.
you know,
I always thought you go to Nashville if you want to, become a famous country singer.
yeah. I guess classic rock and country, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Have you ever played your guitar for like I know not during a Latin mass obviously, but like in a Christian setting, like Christian worship music at all?
No, I have not. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
You have not. Have you seen some cheesy versions? Is that what's keeping you away from
The
it?
guitar mass is pretty cringy,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's
Have
my
Yeah,
favorite.
go ahead. Not your favorite. Yeah. I think I have to agree, to be honest. Um, but I also come from a different background as far as instrumental worship being used in different church settings. But you've always been Catholic, so you probably haven't seen much of that, have you? Have you seen, like, different like, a non-denominational type of worship service at all or anything?
I have, yeah, some back some years and years ago. I did go to a couple with some friends before, and yeah, it felt more like a rock concert, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was the all I've had of that, but can't say I'm a fan.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I do enjoy it, but I also understand that that is not really the point of what we're supposed to be doing. But I'm big about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So like I want to find the goodness out of everything and try to keep it and not just chuck something out. Do you feel the same way or do you feel you're more of like, let's just get rid of that entirely?
For me, it's especially since going to Latin mass and having that kind of in my head.
Yeah.
Um, it's more like, well, how does God want to be worshipped?
Mhm.
Not how people think they want to worship Him. Like, how does God want to be worshipped?
Mhm.
And you have the mass, like especially the Latin mass, that's been there for thousands of years, and so that kind of gives you more of the idea of, okay, this is how He wants to be worshipped. I mean, even if you look at the Old Testament, with the Jews, it was very laid out, like what to do. It wasn't just
Mhm.
a free for all, especially how you see in the non-denominational churches.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with it. I think yeah, I mean, I'm Catholic obviously for a reason, and seeing some of the stuff that does come out of those churches is like, man, this is so far from what God has asked us to do. But with that being said as well, do you think do you think God gave you the ability to play the guitar?
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm amazing at it, so I'm gonna. Uh,
It's like, no, I'm actually not very good. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there. I would say, yeah, it's a gift. Obviously, there's people who can't probably play a lick of music, if they want
Yeah.
to. But yeah,
So do you think you could use it for God in a different way?
you know, I yeah, I'm gonna say not in a way I think would be appropriate.
Okay,
Not
interesting.
not that not in a way that can give reverence that he deserves.
Reverence he deserves. I like that being the intention. If that's the intention, which you're saying it is, that is a beautiful, you know, goal is just to give reverence to God. Like that is the main thing. Do you think reverence is just like an internal heart intention only, or do you like in a sense you could be reverent doing a lot of different things, or do you think reverence is an outward expression?
I think it could be both. It's how
Mhm.
you go about doing anything. You can be
Yeah.
um how you pray, even um if in your daily lives how you do anything. If you do it, for the sake of doing it for God, and they can be reverent in anything you can do.
Mhm. That's how I am too. I think that's true for sure. I I like one of the quotes that Pints with Aquinas or Matt Fradd says, which is not necessarily him, but just the idea that it's good that we don't put necessary stipulations on the church where the church doesn't do that itself. Like
Just um oh, go ahead if you're still talking. I was just
that's
gonna.
yeah, that's the gist of the quote, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough to worry about, doing the church says we need to do, that being scrupulous and putting that on us is just more than we need.
Yeah.
Is even, I mean, how many people don't know what the church even says, let alone making their own selves more rigorous than they need to be?
I think so. I mean, there's so much. Yeah.
I mean, even
And
even with the last, I've been studying pretty good for the last few years, and still feel like I know nothing about what the church really says, especially when you're talking about Thomas Aquinas. It's like, well,
yeah, on a whole different level, right?
yeah,
Yeah. It's the same way. Like the more I study I don't think it's the less I know, but it's like the more I know how much further I have to go. And I'm like, man, I'm way, less further along than I thought I was.
yeah. And that's the sad part today is, really so many people know not even the basic foundation of the faith to live your faith daily.
Mhm.
I remember even my wife went to Catholic school, and I'll remember bring some up to her. She's like, I had never heard that once going to Catholic school. And I was like,
Really?
so
What's an
total.
example of one of those things? If you
I
could think it's okay,
off
if not, but
what it
yeah.
was, but I even noticed in my I help teach religious education, and I'll
Okay.
have kids that are confirmation year, and they don't know the basic prayers coming into that class.
Wow.
So, and that's why I'm so thankful for my upbringing. My mom was really good about every night she was saying prayers with us, reading the Bibles when we were kids. That's where I really got that foundation. And a lot of kids I feel don't have that because it doesn't matter what you teach them in religious education if they don't know it at home or not being taught it at home. They're
Right.
not going to pick up on it, in an hour and a half class.
Right. Why is everybody I talk to attributing this to, like, poor catechesis? Like, I hear that everywhere, and I'm not blaming the teachers because they're putting their time in to try to make this work. Maybe they've been poorly catechized and it just goes back. But is that what you see too? Because that's what every story I hear, it seems like, well, it's poor catechesis when they're kids.
Yeah, no, I think that's a lot of it. Most kids nowadays, their parents haven't taught them, or their parents before them didn't teach them anything, and that's really where you're going to get the foundation of knowing the faith.
More so
And
at the home.
yeah, it's all in the home,
Yeah.
and that's not there, unfortunately, for a lot of people, and
Mm.
that leads them astray, or leads them with
Mhm.
questions they just have a hard time with. And I think one of the great things about the Latin Mass is like people our age who really never got that foundation, especially like cradle Catholics, especially when like, oh, we never learned any of this. Then when the Latin Mass comes along, it's like this is their tradition that got basically robbed from us. And I see just so many people our age coming back into the faith because of that.
Mm.
Because especially being Catholic, our faith comes from scripture and tradition. So you
Right.
have to know both.
Exactly. And is that why you see young people being attracted to the Latin Mass?
Um, yeah, because it asks them, well, the mass and tradition itself,
Yeah.
it it asks something from you. It's not that, oh, you can do whatever you want to do, it's okay, kind of thing. It's not like that. It's okay, this is what you need to do. If you have issues, you need to figure these issues out, and it it makes you work for it.
Mhm.
And that's the best way to explain it, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're uncovering some of those hidden secrets that we need to recover. And going back to what you said earlier about Shia LaBeouf, like not feeling like someone's trying to sell you something. I I just think that is completely what's happening in the Protestant church world.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it, and I think I still do it in a sense. And honestly, I'm tired of doing that. Like, I feel like that is like such a disservice to God and to the people. Like, it's not the right intention.
Yeah. It's one of those things you can and Saint Bernadette has a quote. She says, my job is to inform, not to convince. So
Yeah.
some of those people is like, you just give them a little drop of knowledge and then hope some sparks there, because especially the Protestants, it's gonna be a rough ride trying to get through to them.
True.
But
True.
I know at least one that is on his way to becoming Catholic. It seems he's just right there on the edge, and he's got the desire to know the truth. So there are some that really do want to know. They just didn't grow up knowing any of that, and they just need direction.
Yeah. Right. I think so too. And I'm not blaming any Protestants. I think their heart's in the right place for the most part. Like they want people to come to church. So it's like, well, we've got this great worship team. This music's going to be amazing. We've got this coffee bar in the back. We've got these, new seats, whatever. It's like tries to make it appealing to people. So I understand like we're trying to get people to Jesus, and that's great. But then I look and see, and we mentioned some of that happens in the Catholic Church maybe as well. But then I look and see like a TLM service, and from my understanding, the priest doesn't even acknowledge that the people are there.
Very
Like
little. Very
at the
little.
beginning, like definitely not the beginning. Like, hello guys, welcome to so and so, church. We're thankful you're here, and I don't see any of that. I don't think, right?
There's very little talking or acknowledging the laity,
Yeah,
and that's great because it's not about us. It's
and I
about.
agree with that completely. It's not about us.
And so it's good for even not being prideful about if I don't know if people get prideful of being at mass when but it's one of those things you learn to appreciate once you start going.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really would put you in your place, and I'm sure some people have gotten offended, at not being like welcomed or whatever. Maybe they have. I don't know, but that seems like a necessary bridge you got to cross to get over to realize like, well, it's not so much about what maybe even God gives to us or people give to us, but what we can give to God. I would say.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% there.
Mhm. So talking about the mass being a sacrifice, so in that sense, we're seeing like the priest, you know, offer the sacrifice on behalf of the people to God, and then he's like the priest would be facing like the altar, correct? Like he's not his
Right.
back is to the people the majority of that time, not even facing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is completely different than Novus Ordo.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all I've seen. And then for anybody who has no idea what we're talking about, just two different types of masses, Catholic masses, Novus Ordo, and then the traditional Latin mass.
And I will say one of the things that after going to Latin Mass that makes me probably cringe the most, and it's usually the old folks, is the talking like before and after Mass
In the church.
church. Because at a Latin Mass, there's none of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's silent. There's like people praying the Rosary beforehand, um, but very quietly to themselves. And so that's one of the things. Like for me personally, it's like, I just sit there and cringe.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
can kinda kill the reverent aspect of you trying to pray or in that moment, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
not that word, but I mean it it's definitely the word really to describe most of the difference.
Yeah, I would say so. How how do you think people in the TLM in that situation, if they don't talk, in the church, which I'm for that being a sacred space just between, just for worship for God. Do they have like times before and after that they might have a chance for fellowship?
Well, I know at my parish particularly, there is usually after mass, the priest will always walk outside, and people can gather out there. Or there's a back room where people can always also go for fellowship. And then
Okay.
so there's areas other than inside the church
Hmm.
for talking.
Sure. That makes sense. I think it's good to have just set aside places. Like, yeah, this is for worship. This is for fellowship. Not muddy the waters in that sense.
Well, yeah, because in the TLM after the mass ends as well, most everyone they'll kneel down and do a like a prayer of thanksgiving.
Okay.
And so obviously, if somebody's talking, it's a little harder to do that.
Sure. Sure. Is there anything? Well, I'm sure there's some things, maybe not though. Anything you struggle with in the Catholic faith, the theology, practice, anything? It's like I'm Catholic. I'm not going anywhere, but I wrestle with this.
You know, I'm actually pretty good about once I learn something, like, okay, this is what the faith teaches. I'm
Yeah,
like, well, if I don't, I need to adjust myself.
I think I am too that way. Yeah.
It really blows my mind when people are like, yeah, I don't agree with this, and the church, is wrong, kind of speak. I'm like, well, no, the church ain't wrong. It's you.
Yes.
So I mean, it's one thing, to struggle with that and to realize you're wrong. You have to struggle with that, but to just blatantly be like, you know what, I'm gonna do what I want to do. That's what kind of gets me. I'm like, how do you have that mindset? You think you know better than the church?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the church having authority, and it sounds like they really don't believe the church does.
Yeah,
Because when it comes down to it, if there's something they don't agree with, they think they have the authority to say whether that's right or not.
yeah, and then also that also goes the other way too. When you have if you don't know the tradition and what the church teaches on authority, then you can think, if a certain priest or bishop or pope says something, just offhand comment, and like, well, that's not what the tradition says. So unless you're speaking, like Pope speaking infallibly,
Mhm.
then the tradition says otherwise. You go with the tradition,
Right.
not naming anybody out.
Mhm. Right. So, yeah, you mentioned your personal divisions. So you said a brown scapular, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
which that is, I recommend it. Look into it. It is such an amazing sacramental, and the promises attached to it are just astounding.
Yeah. When did you learn about it and decide to obtain one or start wearing one?
Um, I've probably had mine for maybe close to a year and a half, 2 years now,
Okay.
and I forget when exactly I learned about it.
Mhm.
But once I kind of looked into it and saw the promises attached, I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer.
Gotta do it.
Yeah, like, whoever dies wearing this will not see the fires of hell. Oh
Yes.
my, oh,
Here we
that
go.
that tells
Why
me.
would I not wear that? Yeah. I just got mine recently. I've been wearing it for a couple, I guess, a few days. But yeah, I just been studying like the story behind it, and I want you to add anything if I don't get anything right because I just looked it up. But basically, Mount Carmel or Carmel, right, where the same area where Elijah had his big confrontation with the I guess it was the pagans or whatever, different group of religious people where they were calling down their worship of Baal and they were, having their fight, and Elijah shows who the true God is, and God shows up and he consumes the sacrifice. And so everybody there, comes to know the one true God, which is actually the readings for the day. I heard that at daily mass, which is pretty cool. But that's what the Elijah story was about. That's where that mountain that happened took place. So then we fast forward to, I would say, the Carmelites at some point. hundreds of years ago where Mary appeared to one of the monks there. Is that how you understand it?
Yep. St. Simon
Mhm.
Stock. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. St. Simon Stock. Yes, and so basically at that time it would have been like their habit would have been brown, I guess, like the whole thing. And then
Yeah.
the laity wanted to get involved too, and they didn't have an opportunity to wear that habit, so they like cut part of their habit off and gave it to people they wear on their neck or over their shoulders. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe over the years the scapular has gotten a little smaller for the laity.
It used to be bigger.
I believe so. Don't quote me, but I think it was, yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, the one I got, I mean, I don't know anything about it. I'm learning, but it's pretty small, I would say. Just this little bit, you know.
Yeah. One.
There you go. So yeah, that's yeah, and mine has a back to it as well. I don't know if
Yep.
yours does. It's like two cloths. Okay. Or two
What's
inserts. There you go. Sweet. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So, and I was doing some studying about that, and it is really interesting the promises attached. Do you know of any other of the promises or how many there were exactly?
I would have to look back into it. It's been a
Yeah. Been a while. Yeah. I'm still looking more into it, but all of that sacramental stuff I'm into.
just go back and look again.
Yeah. All of the sacramentals I'm into, like I'm trying to just get graced up. Like I've got, I'm trying to get my rosary going. Just got the medal today, miraculous medal,
Yep.
brown scapular. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Once you start looking at them, like kind of got to pick and choose which ones you want to go with. Otherwise, you're just walking around like a walking gift shop of sacramentals. Kind of.
You will be a walking gift shop. Yeah, you gotta see what you're called to, what what your lifestyle um,
Yeah.
calls for. But yeah.
But some, yeah, like the Rosary, obviously, cannot recommend enough. Brown scapular.
Mhm.
I think even I want to say Saint is it Jacinta from Fatima?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Was she the main seer?
I think it was Lucia was the main one.
I believe
Yeah.
as Bruce said that one day through the scapular and the Rosary that hey, look the quote up. The scapular and the Rosary are pretty important. I don't want to misquote it.
Absolutely. No, yeah. No, she mentioned him, I think. Yeah. So it's just so cool. It's so cool to see the active part of our faith where, the God has appeared through different ways, Mary apparitions and to people and to give us these gifts because if we're only looking at scripture, which is great and very important, all this additional stuff that's happened in the recent past is just not going to be part of anybody's life.
Yeah, and that's especially with everything going on in the world today and in the church.
Yeah.
At the apparitions, it's like okay, we were told this is going to happen, so it makes a lot of sense. It's not like just gets you by surprise. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's easy to see what's happening, but it makes sense, and you see we were told this was going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I see that. I was studying that last night. I mean, looking at all it was talking about Fatima and the situation with, Ukraine and Russia and all the different things going on there, like and what's to come, like we're concerned if we should be concerned if we don't repent or don't pray for those conversions that, World War III could be on the horizon.
Oh yeah, especially if you have you ever heard of I don't know if she's a saint or blessed, Elena Aletta. I think I'm saying that right.
Hmm.
I'll send you
I
the
think I have actually. I
I'll send you the
think.
talks about like Russia marching through Europe and little hits that one hits home a little bit more.
Yeah. Is she a mystic or someone who has
Yeah,
received apparitions from Mary?
our Lord and Our Lady, I believe.
Okay. Wow. And
Uh,
that's more about and she's still alive or that's like something from way back ago?
uh, I believe that was the 1960s or somewhere around there.
Oh, wow. I love the recent stuff. That's so cool.
Yeah. So I'll have to look that one back up and send it over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out. I appreciate that. Well, let's see. We've hit our hour mark, so feel free to stay as long as you'd like, and or if you got other things to do, I'm sure you do. Feel free. But what would be your best words to someone who might be thinking about becoming Catholic?
My best advice would be, one, ask the Lord for the grace to get through any obstacles you have, and ask for Our Lady's intercession.
Yeah,
You can never ask Our Lady enough for an intercession. So that'd be my biggest advice there.
amen, brother. Hey, man, it was good to talk to you. And this is the first time we've ever actually talked.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, we just message on Facebook every now and then. How did we just connect on like a Facebook post and commenting on the same post or something?
I was wondering that, and I couldn't put my finger to it because one of the same thing.
I don't know. I have to look back. I think honestly, it's what it was. I think you were going to bat for me a couple times on Facebook whenever I posted something, and
Actually, now I think I posted like a quote from St. Pope Pius X, and if I remember right, actually, I vaguely remember this now that you're bringing it up.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Also, St. Pope Pius X, great one to look at, especially our days when a lot of people are modernist. He puts
Yeah.
those in place.
Okay, I'll have to check more into that. That's interesting. Cool, man.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. And is there anything else that you would like to, explain, get off your chest, ask, say before you go?
I think I'm good for now. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Well, thanks for coming on, and we will talk to you soon. And feel free to, send your friends this way. Anybody who is, inspired about their Catholic faith, want to share that or ask questions, or even the other side, anybody who's struggling with it and is against it. I'd love to have conversations with them, and I have no enemies. So that's my goal, is to be able to get along with everybody except for the actual enemy. That's, it talks about scripture. It's not a battle of flesh and blood. It's not against humans. So I think I've been blessed to have the gift to, not get angry at people and hopefully not offend people, but, have a conversation and see where we can and go from there with all different thoughts. So that's the goal. Spread the kingdom and grow the mission. So, Brett, thanks a lot, buddy. It was great to talk to you, and hopefully we'll get to hear from you soon.
Yeah, take it easy.
All right. God bless, brother. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for watching our show today on Timeless Truth. We are basically just beginning to grow this channel. As you can see, our subscribers is like in the 20s right now. So I'm very appreciative of every single subscriber. Every single one of you is a beautiful person made in the image of God, and you're trying to support our work here. So thank you so much for that. And then in addition to that, we know that we have a lot of room for growth. And it's not about growing a channel. It's not about making any of us famous. It's just about being obedient to the call that we've been given and making sure that we are spreading the goodness and the truth that God has given us with the world, that we're not holding it in. We're not being selfish. We're not being afraid. We're not afraid to sacrifice our time and our efforts to put our attention in other things that might be more just relaxing or, satisfying to our own humanity, but just sacrificing everything for the kingdom and trying to reach all souls for Christ and his church. So let us know what you thought about the video. I mean, seriously, if you're upset about it, about anything, if you're like, man, this is lame, or I don't agree with this, I'm offended, please let me know. Okay. You can comment publicly, but if you'd like to just message privately, I'd probably prefer that so we don't start a war. But whatever you got to do, okay? You can message us on Facebook, Timeless Truth. You can message me personally on Facebook. I couldn't get the Timeless Truth Facebook page to link on this broadcast to directly broadcast into that Facebook page. So that's a pain. I apologize. So it is airing, I believe, on my personal Facebook page, Andrew Kemp Myers currently, as well as our Timeless Truth YouTube channel. So you message anytime. Okay. I'll get back with you as soon as I can, as long as I'm not, too busy with family and my main job. But evangelizing the world, catechesis, sharing the faith. This is what I'm about. This is what we should be about. And I want to love all of you. And there might be times we disagree, or there might be times where we might agree but not realize it. So bring it to my attention if you think that, and maybe we can grow closer together and closer to God through prayer and conversation. So God bless you guys. Thanks so much for watching, being a part of this, whether you are watching now live, you will watch later in the future, whatever. We are so thankful for you. And thank you so much for being a part of this. And let us know what you want the next video to be about. We'll be back soon. Thanks so much, and God bless.